Welcome to the English Department Career Day, which is a collaboration between the Career Development Center and the English Department. My name is Shanad Beiru, and I'm a faculty member in the English Department. Throughout the day, we've invited alumni to join us for conversations about their careers in order to give you insight into different career paths, industries, and to get advice on how to enter and thrive in these fields. Our guest today is Carly Calhoun. Welcome, Carly. So Carly is a 2021 graduate from St. Joe's with a double major in international relations and English and a minor in Asian studies. Carly works for Make-A-Wish Foundation as a wish manager, which is the coolest title I've ever come across. Carly has worked at Make-A-Wish since October 2022, and prior to this worked at WMW Medical Communications Group. While at St. Joe's, Carly was active in tutoring English, working in the Writing Center, serving as a global smarts educator, and was on the Hawk staff between fall 2018 and spring 2021. I'm super happy to have you on Hawk Hill, Carly. Welcome back virtually. So I'm going to begin with a list of questions that I'm going to pitch to you, and then we'll have some Q&A from folks on our screens from the different classes. Okay, so we'll start off with a series of career-focused questions. Question number one, Carly, could you describe within your current role the core responsibilities and what a typical day or week looks like for you?
Sure. So I'd say at any given time, my caseload of wishes is about 40. Throughout the year, the expectation is sort of to grant about 60 wishes. So every day I'm either, reaching out to families to talk about what the wish could look like, whether it's a trip to Disney, trip to Hawaii, meeting a celebrity, having a puppy, just explaining what the wish looks like, what the timeline is going to be. And then once I do that, I will create a budget, I'll submit the budget, that kind of thing. And then we have to communicate with our Wish Children's volunteers. So I'll be doing that, helping them to, understand where in the process their kid's wish is to being granted. And then other minor things, sending out like backpacks and scrapbooks and toys to the Wish kids, or doing some like behind the scenes financial stuff as well.
Okay, thank you. So how did you decide to pursue this particular career?
So I always knew that I wanted to do something that helped people and made an impact. My first job out of college was an editorial position at a medical communications company, which was helping people, but in a more abstract way. And I wanted more like hands-on impact with kids. So I found Make-A-Wish through like Indeed or LinkedIn. And when I came in for an interview and you see all the pictures of the kids on the walls and people, sending boxes out, getting pictures from families. And I just knew that that was what I wanted to do.
Okay. What, if anything, surprised you most about your current job?
I would say a couple of things. I think one thing, I'm given a lot of like freedom and space from my like bosses to sort of handle problems that might arise on my own, especially in like interpersonal communication with families. It's sort of up to me to like handle those kind of issues, which is nice to not feel like every step you make is like the wrong one. But also just the sort of expressed appreciation from families. Oftentimes after a wish, we'll get like a long letter from families and a lot of pictures from the wish. So it's nice to sort of feel like that the wish has really impacted the child on their medical journey.
How did you get your first internship or job?
So my first internship was with the World Affairs Council as a global smarts educator. So World Affairs Council is in Philadelphia, right by City Hall. And basically, I would go to a school in Philadelphia once a week and teach them about a certain country and a certain topic and sort of prepare them for like a Model UN conference at the end of the year. I didn't really have any interest in teaching, and so that was like sort of interesting to be thrown into that, but definitely it was a good internship to be exposed to sort of the surrounding Philadelphia community and to talk about like important issues.
Okay, so a little more specifics here.
Sure.
What are the ways that your organization or even your industry demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Sure. So we have a DEI committee at my job. We meet once a month. And it's really important to us that our staff and our volunteers are representative of the populations that we're serving. So because we're serving Philadelphia, Bluebell areas, and then Susquehanna Valley, we really want to make sure that our policies and the people that work with us and for us are representative of everyone. We also like try to educate ourselves on different topics. Everybody sort of contributes their own, what diversity, equity, and inclusion means to them, and then we communicate that to the entire staff. So it's definitely an important aspect of working at Make-A-Wish, and I appreciate that everyone here takes it so seriously.
Okay. What is something that you wish someone told you when you were in school?
I think that the career that you go into, and especially your first career after college, doesn't have to like directly correlate to your major. Certainly what I'm doing right now has pretty much nothing to do with international relations or English. But I do find myself using my English degree like every day, whether that's in an editorial fashion or just like interpersonal communication skills that I learned from like being on the Hawk or tutoring in the Writing Center. So you don't have to see like a direct tie to your major to be like fulfilled in your job.
What 2 or 3 experiences should students engage in while in college to help them prepare this field once they graduate?
Sure. So definitely, since I work in a nonprofit, I would say that service is a really big thing that you should do while at St. Joe's, whether that's weekly service or taking a service learning class or doing a service trip like Apex or WIP. I think that's really important, especially being, I think I said earlier, but being exposed to the communities that you're serving and, not just serving them from the outside, but actually from the inside is really important. And then I would also say, like, working for the newspaper was really helpful for me because uh, the like communication that you have with different sources and like having to interview people, whether that's in person or on the phone, it definitely like took me out of my comfort zone to have to like approach random people sometimes and ask questions. And in my job now, I have to call families. Sometimes I have to cold call families or vendors. And sometimes I'm even like asking if they're willing to donate money, which can be kind of an awkward conversation. But having that prior experience has been really helpful.
What English courses did you take that helped you prepare for the job market directly or indirectly?
Sure. So I think definitely sophomore seminar, the English sophomore seminar that I took was really helpful. That was such a like writing intensive course, and having that like deeper understanding of, like how to write and how to write well and good grammar was definitely helpful in like applying for jobs. And I find myself writing a lot in my current job, so having that background is really helpful. Also, news reporting for the previous reasons, but having to, approach people and ask questions and sort of formulate a story was really helpful.
Okay, so I know you touched on a little bit of this earlier on, but what other experiences, and this can include internships, honors thesis, service learning, study abroad, which I know you know a lot about, experiential learning like the Inside Out class. What of those helped you prepare for the current job that you're in?
Sure. So I did take the Inside Out course, where we would go once a week to the Philadelphia Institute of Corrections, and learn. It was a double English philosophy course, so we would learn alongside the inmates there, and that was definitely, for some of the same reasons I said before, but being exposed to like a new environment and learning alongside people who have very different lives and experiences than I did and have now. Um, that was definitely, I don't know, helpful for, just understanding like other walks of life, especially where in my job now I'm serving families who have gone through so many different experiences and difficult, not just medical journeys, but like life experiences that I couldn't even imagine. So having that sort of empathy was really helpful. And then also I studied abroad in South Africa with Dr. Beirut. And for the same reasons, but being exposed to just another like way of life and people who have very different experiences than I did, that definitely, um, helped me again, like just be more open-minded when I'm talking to families and helping plan wishes, and maybe like a problem comes up that I might perceive as being like annoying, but I know that they're just like, they might be in the hospital, or they might be like coming back from the hospital after having, maybe their kid just got chemotherapy. And so just having more grace and dealing with those kinds of problems, I think, is something I definitely learned.
And then as a follow-up, what advice would you give students as they think about the job market, whether it's in a year's time or, 18 months time?
Sure. I think when I was nearing graduation and then when I graduated, I had this idea in my mind of what I thought my job should be when I graduated college. And I was really like wanting to be in like the political science field. But the job market is not great right now, and it's very difficult to immediately get your like dream job when you graduate college. So I think it's important to not like set too high expectations for yourself and what your first job should be. And like maybe you just get a job that interests you, like maybe it intrigues you, but it's not what you see yourself doing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't go for it. And maybe you'll learn about the kind of work environment you like, or maybe you'll end up liking the job, or you'll learn a lot about yourself and what you want in a job, and then you can go on and pursue something else. So I think just having not super high expectations is really important.
Okay. Speaking of super high expectations, how does your Jesuit education impact how you work in your current job and, career-related decisions that you've made since graduating?
Sure. So I feel like a big Jesuit principle is like care for the whole person. So not only do I sort of use that care for the whole person mindset when I'm, talking to families or dealing with, like obstacles, like I said before, maybe a family is dealing with some personal issues, sort of taking a step back and, letting them come to me when they're ready to deal with it. But also, I think it was important to me to not only like enjoy my job, but to feel like pride in what I'm doing. So definitely, I like feel that in my current job, and the care for the whole person is like just very important.
Um, what are your recommendations for the types of internships that students should try to secure, which will prepare them for the job market?
Um, I don't know about like a specific type of internship, but kind of like I said before, if this is the time where if you find something that interests you or like a type of job that intrigues you and you want to learn more about it, now is the time to sort of try it out. Maybe you find out that you like it a lot, or you think, no, that is not at all the kind of field that I want to go into. Either one of those outcomes is helpful for you to eventually be in a career. So definitely, trying anything and everything in your internships is really important.
Okay, and then I want to end with a question about interviewing and networking tips. So a basic simple thing like I prepared for this interview by putting on a tie, of course, and getting some lights in the background in front of me and some really nice background. What suggestions and tips might you have for both, I guess, interviewing and then also networking while students are at St. Joe's currently?
Mhm. For interviewing, I would say you can never be over prepared. When I applied for my current job, I remember I looked up common interview questions and then I just sat down and I wrote out answers to all these common interview questions. I don't think I was asked even half of the questions that I wrote down, but it's just good to like know what you would say in case a question is asked. So taking that time to sort of, self-reflect on a lot of the questions is really important. And then for networking, I would say to attend as many like networking career events as you can, but also like once you graduate, to not be afraid to use those connections that you've made, like reach back out to your professors if you have questions, or if you need a resume looked at, or if you have any like questions about maybe they know of a job, like they just really just want to help you. So reaching back out to people like that you've met along your college career. It can feel weird at first to like reach almost back into your past and ask for help, but they really do just want to help you.
Okay, well, thank you, Carly, for those thoughtful answers. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A right now. So folks in the Zoom spaces in the classrooms, if you have any questions, please do the raise hand icon or speak to your instructor, and then I will call on you. If you speak, please let Carly know your name and your year at St. Joe's. So folks who want to ask questions, please raise the hand icon. Kaylee.
Hello, thank you. I wanted to ask, what kind of writing assignments do you do for Make-A-Wish, if you do any kind of writing assignments?
So I don't do too many writing assignments, but I will say sometimes, so each wish sort of has like a budget. But if for some reason a wish needs to go over budget, we have to write like almost a justification for why the wish should be, still be granted even though it's over budget. So that happens a lot for like Hawaii wishes, especially if it's like a large family going to Hawaii. So we do have to sort of write like a paragraph justification. So I'd say that's a big one. And then also reaching out to families, crafting those kinds of emails, reaching out to medical teams. That's probably the biggest writing that I do.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask, do you normally work in teams or do you mostly work independently?
So we each have our own individual caseload. So in that way, we're sort of working independently. But if we come across a snag, like maybe we had a vendor fall through, or maybe we have a family and they really want their grandparents to go on the wish, but we don't really allow that. So maybe we'll reach out to each other and be like, how would you handle this situation? Or, what should I do? How should I approach this? Is it okay if the grandparents come? Like, how do I sort of delicately tell the family that we really don't allow grandparents to go on wishes? And then we also collaborate a lot with our development team because they are sort of the fundraising and so they supply the money for the wish. So it's sort of a circle, but they supply the money for the wishes, and then we supply them with wish kids who are publicity friendly so that they can use pictures from the kids' wishes to then raise more money to then give us. So it really is like a circle, but we work with the development team a lot.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kaylee. I see Olivia's hand. Olivia?
Yes, hello. My name is Olivia Roach. I'm a sophomore English major. I was just wondering, because I've been debating like double majoring myself, and I was wondering if like you see as double majoring like was beneficial for you or like helped you like get the career you have now.
I definitely do recommend double majoring. I started as a political science major or international relations major, and then I decided to add English on, I think it was first semester sophomore year. And I just knew that English is such a universal major. You know, even if I was doing something completely unrelated to English, which I guess I kind of am now, I still use my English major, like what I've learned every single day, whether it's like rereading an email to make sure that the grammar is right, or, you know, in communication, or sometimes my boss will even have me read his emails because he knows that I was an English major. So I definitely think double majoring, though it can seem kind of daunting to have two majors, it's definitely beneficial, and I would definitely recommend it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olivia. Any other questions? Okay, while we give folks a chance to ask questions, I just want to follow up, Carly. So I've interacted with you while you were on the newspaper, and then of course on the study abroad, and I'm always wanting to make a case to students, even if they don't take English as a major, but they take English as a minor. It strikes me that in pretty much everything that you do currently and in your previous job, communications is involved, whether it's writing emails or one paragraph justifications for spending more money than normal, emails, all of that stuff, talking to people and thinking about how to respond to a family in a gentle way to say, well, grandparents are not allowed or shouldn't be allowed. And I'm just wondering, like, what is it in your service courses that you took in study abroad, in newspaper journalism that you did for those couple semesters, and also in your other English classes? What kind of things do you still apply that you acquired during the time that you took English classes and study abroad and service learning?
I would say, especially in, so not necessarily in my current job, but in my editorial job, there was a lot of collaboration, which I think is a big part of a lot of English classes that happen at St. Joe's, whether it's small groups, group projects, you know, group presentations, anything like that. So collaboration is definitely a large part of, you know, being an editor, going back and forth, you know, editing something, then it goes to the writer and they fix it, then it comes back, and then I edit it again and it goes back. It's a very collaborative process. So I would say I definitely was prepared for that when I started in my previous role. Here, there's still collaboration, but it's a different kind of collaboration. Like I mentioned before, it's more like brainstorming ideas together, or making sure that timelines line up, or that, you know, families are willing to be the face of a certain campaign or need a donor if it needs to need be. But yeah, I think collaboration is definitely important and something I learned in my English classes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Please stand. Scott.
Hi, Carly. So one of the things that I'm Scott Rappaport, I'm an associate director in the Career Center. one of the things that you mentioned was that not finding or getting your dream job right out of school. And I talk to students about that a lot, that sometimes students are searching for their second job or their third job first, and they don't realize that. And I understand that, right? This is the job that you want, but you need to get other experience in order to land that. So that really resonated when you talked about it. Can you talk a little bit more about how you took that experience in your jobs right out of school and leveraged it so that you were able to land this highly competitive position that you're now in? Because my guess is if you had applied for this right out of school, it probably wouldn't have happened because it's so competitive. So how did you roll some of the experiences in so that you were able to land this?
Sure. So yeah, my first job was with a very small company. There were only 5 of us working there, 4 before I got there. And it was like my boss at the time it was his company. So, I was working like directly with the CEO of the company, and it was just not necessarily what I wanted to do. It was very medical heavy. The content was a lot of like clinical trial data, and we were working directly with pharmaceutical companies. But I knew it was an editorial job, which I had done before on the Hawk and sort of in the writing center. So I knew that I, had the skills needed to be an editor. And since it was such a small company, they hired me, and I knew that I wouldn't have a ton of other, not that I wouldn't have a ton of other options to apply for, but that it wouldn't have been as easy. Maybe I wouldn't be able to find a job for like another year, and I would still be working at Wawa, where I was working when I graduated college. So I think it was important to me to take that job and to get the experience, whatever experience I could. A couple months in, I sort of realized that it wasn't for me. And, not only was the content of what I was doing not for me, but it was such a small office. I didn't really enjoy that. There were only 5 of us. I would have preferred, I found out about myself that I would have preferred a larger office with, 20 to 30 people working there. And the job was all in person, and I would have liked to have the opportunity to work from home, especially after I moved to Philly and was working in Jersey. I was having to drive back and forth. It just ended up being not the right job for me. But I was there for like a year and 4 months or so, and having that experience, and not only the experience of working at this particular job, but just being in like the workforce and being a working professional, like it lended me more credibility, I think, when I started at my current job, and they could see that I wasn't just coming right out of college. I had already, done the like 9 to 5 experience. I knew what a job was expecting of me. And I think it definitely made me look like a little more reliable as somebody to hire. So I do agree. I don't think they would have hired me right out of college, but yeah, that experience was really beneficial.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that answer.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Any questions from the classrooms?
Quick question. What do you think your next job will be, Carly, or are you not thinking about that right now?
I have to say I'm not thinking about that, which is a nice feeling, because in my old job, it was all I would think about every single day. I was thinking about what I would do next. But here, it's just been really nice to like enjoy where I'm at and what I'm doing and the people that I'm with. So yeah, I haven't really thought about it.
Haley, I think your microphone is off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Carly, what is one of your favorite wishes that happened, or one of the most positively influenced you?
So I just last week granted a World Series wish, which was pretty great. We had a boy who wanted to go to the World Series. Sad that the Phillies weren't there, but he got to go to Texas to see the Rangers play the Astros. He got to go to games 1 and 2. And then they were able to get him on the field. He got to meet a couple of the players, and a couple like former players had come back for the game. So he got to meet them, get some, signatures. And his mom sent me some pictures from the wish and said that he had a great time. And he was actually on the news in Texas. So I got to see him being interviewed and talking about how the wish sort of helped him like push through his like medical issues to be able to go. So that was probably one of my favorite wishes.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Dr. Green? You have a question?
No, I'm just applauding the wish.
Okay.
Awesome
Yeah, I know,
wish.
right?
I'll ask Carly, do you mostly work with families in this area, or are you working with families all across the nation? How does that work? Because I know that the organization is a national organization.
Sure. So our chapter we're Philadelphia, Susquehanna Valley, and Delaware. So we serve sort of from like Philadelphia up to Lancaster and then down to Delaware. I'd say at any given time in our like wish pipeline, we have about like 320 wishes that are going through the process. But our goal last year was 330 wishes, which we were able to grant.
Carly, these are wishes that come from not just the area you described. Is it nationwide or?
So the 330 was just our chapter.
Oh, I see.
We do also get like, they're called wish assists, like maybe a kid from California really loves the Eagles and he wants to go to an Eagles game. So that would come to us, like, because we have the partnership with the Eagles, we would plan the wish for him and then they would come out here and go to the game.
And then how many wish managers are there aside from yourself in the office space that you, on your chapter, as you said?
There's 5 of us. Well, there's technically 4 of us, and then we have a senior wish manager who is like kind of our boss. She helps us solve a lot of the problems that we might come across. But we each have a caseload of about 60 to 80 wishes, depending on like how long you've been here.
And this caseload is you managing communications with families day to day and figuring out how you can grant the wish. I mean, what's that like?
Yeah, so I can use my Eagles wish as an example. So I just heard from family on Monday that they were interested in going to the game on this Sunday. So we reached out to our Eagles contact to let them know that the family wants to go to the game and that Sunday is the game that they would like to go to. So then they talk to the Eagles team and, make sure that that's like possible, I guess. And my wish kid also wants to meet Jason Kelsey and I think Devontae Swift, maybe. I don't really know, but he wants to meet 2 of the Eagles. So they'll have the opportunity to go on the field and watch the pregame warm up and kickoff and get to meet Jason and any other players that might come over and, say hi and introduce themselves and get to meet him. So I've been dealing a lot with that communication, with going back and forth between the family and the Eagles and making sure that there's like a limo to pick him up and bring him to the Eagles game. So there's definitely, especially in a wish with a quick turnaround like this one and like the World Series wish, there's a lot of really quick communication back and forth. So keeping organized is important.
And Kelly, so you're doing most of this through email and the phone, right? Do you ever get to be on site for any of these wishes?
So I am going to the game on this Sunday. So that will be cool. But we also have the opportunity and we're sort of encouraged to volunteer. So there's a couple phases of volunteering that we can do. You can either do what's called a wish discovery, which is where you sit with the kid and their family, whether that's in person or over Zoom, and talk about what they like and what they don't like and what they imagine their perfect wish to be. And we usually get 3 or 4 wish types so that, you know, in case their first wish is like to go to the moon, we have to be like, well, you can't do that. So what else would you like to do? And then there's also the wish celebration aspect. So right before a wish is granted, whether that's them going to Disney World or getting a pool installed or getting a puppy, the volunteers will go to the wish kid's house and, you know, celebrate the wish with them, deliver them with like a scrapbook and maybe like cupcakes if that's what the kid likes. So there's a couple different ways that volunteers can be involved.
Scott?
Can I ask another question? So you just mentioned that like this week in particular, your organization skills are extremely important in making this happen.
Mhm.
So thinking about students who might be interviewing, can you talk about how in an interview you might have, you know, displayed, or if you got a question, tell us about your organizational skills. How did you answer that? Because I'm sure that the organization values that and needed to know ahead of time that that was going to be something that they're not going to have to teach you, right? You're just going to come in with that skill set. So can you talk about that, maybe from an interviewing, standpoint?
Sure. So that was definitely one of the questions I had prepared when I was preparing for interviewing for this job, because I know organization is so important, and it's also important to express that not only do you realize how important organization is, but that you have the skills to be organized. So I definitely emphasized that, like, so it sounds so like silly, but keeping lists is really important. And, you know, whether that's like on an actual pad of paper or on like an Excel document or, you know, keeping track of, for me, the kids in my caseload, when I last reached out to family, when I last reached out to the volunteers, any of the next steps that I'm waiting for, like maybe I need to book a rental car, maybe I need to make sure that the medical equipment that this kid needs is going to be waiting for them when they get down to Disney. So being sure to like keep track of, you know, however it helps you most to keep track of things. And then also I think for organization, it sort of goes hand in hand with like feeling overwhelmed. Because once you start to feel overwhelmed and stressed by what you're doing, your organization skills tend to drop because you're sort of feeling scattered and all over the place. So especially in an interview, expressing that, you know, even if you do start to feel overwhelmed or stressed, because they know that you will, so acknowledging that you do feel stressed and feel overwhelmed is important, because if you say that you don't, they'll just know that you're lying. But you know, saying that you might feel stressed, but you have ways to handle that without sacrificing your organization.
Thanks, Carly. Any other questions? Okay. Scott, is it cool to wrap at this point? Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Carly, so much for joining us today and giving us insight into your career and telling us what your awesome title of Wish Manager involves. We're grateful for your time, and I certainly hope we see you on Hawk Hill at some point, especially hoping that you'll visit us in the Hawk newspaper room, newsroom at some point.